We've got a jolly old community over here in Stardew Valley. Everyone always gets along and no one ever disagrees. Never mind that. I once again asked for some viewer hot takes to discuss to decide if they're truly hot or perhaps lukewarm at best. And I have 921 of them to work with. Sorry if I don't get around to yours, I'll do my best. For this set of hot takes, I decided to focus on the changes that came in the 1.6 update. With so many changes, some of them are bound to ruffle some feathers. First up, hot take, there's way too much moss and it's virtually useless. Pretty on trees, but it just takes up inventory space. So like, alright, I think I get partly where you're coming from. It's just a crafting resource, it's nothing fancy like mystic syrup or diamonds, but personally, I think it slots in perfectly as a new common crafting resource. I think one of the arguments here is that its role could have been filled by the existing resource, and I have some counters to that. So first, the obvious choice is fiber, right? But it's already used in tons of recipes, it's pretty scarce compared to the amount you usually need, and it's kind of annoying to farm if you don't have fiber seeds. And looking at all the other crafting resources, they're all available at the very beginning of the game. One thing that makes moss kind of unique is the way it spawns. It spawns on older trees and spreading from moss trees, so it manages to be a common resource that isn't usually available until around your first green rain day in summer. So that early game scarcity prevents it from being like overwhelming at the beginning, I think. And also, like you said, it's pretty. This was an opportunity for a new resource to be both useful in recipes and useful aesthetically. I love the way that now the untamed wilderness looks even wilder when all of the trees has moss dripping off of them. This could be one of those things where maybe it just feels odd because it's so new. Kind of like how new Pokemon never look like Pokemon until you have a few years to get used to them. Thumbs up for the truly hot take. Interesting topic that I think most people didn't even think about. Next up, I personally feel like the giant trees make Cindersnap feel disconnected from the rest of the valley. First of all, Shiny Dew has left a debilitating mark on this community. Second, this was pretty much my exact same reaction when I first played the update. So like with this being Concerned Ape's first game, you can see a big difference in his art style from things that were in the game at launch to today. Even some of the stuff in 1.5 is noticeably different than the rest. I feel like he also noticed this, and that's why you see a lot of the interiors redecorated in this update, but these trees are like a step beyond all that. They're very, does this make sense? Haunted chocolatier-esque? Is that weird to say when we've only seen very small bits of the game? The colors are softer, the lines are thicker, the shading is more intricate. It looks great, but it's just different. Like many other things, I feel myself getting more used to them as time goes on. And they're just barely at the top of the screen, so they're not as impactful as I thought they'd be. It's definitely a huge shock the first time you enter Cinder Sap Forest, though. Next, the 4 new crops are pointless. I think I'll give you broccoli being a pointless addition, but the other 3 have important enough use cases, I think. Carrots are the fastest growing crop in the game, so that's kind of fun to play around with. And I suppose if you didn't know, it can be fed to the horse to speed it up for the day. Summer squash are a little harder to justify, but they're still like one of the top money makers if you plant them early enough. And they're free, so you can't really argue with that. Powder melons just get a pass because they're a winter crop, if I'm honest. Even if it's not the best in terms of money, it's the only thing that can fill your field until next season if you don't want to use the winter forward seeds. Broccoli though, I don't know. It doesn't come close to many of the other money crops. I think at most it's a good gifting option since it's essentially a free vegetable. But I would have honestly rathered it just not be in the game, mostly because of these things, but we'll talk about them later. 3/4 of a hot take. What a shame that the Desert Festival is exactly on salmonberry season. Shaking my head. Wait, really? Oh damn, yeah, not even overlapping. That's just straight up 3 of the 4 days. I guess now that I'm looking at it, there's not really a stretch of 3 days where nothing else is going on. But looking at the Winter Festival, there was no problem with overlapping it on the wizard's birthday. If they had to put it, say, the 19th through the 21st, I don't think anyone would complain. The main issue here is, both collecting salmon berries and having a good day at the Desert Festival are nearly an all-day commitment. I actually do wish that was changed. The take may be lukewarm, but I think it's valid. I don't really understand why the prices for hats are different now. I thought the price was the work towards getting the achievement, but now it's also super expensive. Yes, thank you. Like, yeah, they're just cosmetic items, but I'm the kind of player who really likes to find a new hat each playthrough and then stick with it. And now if I want to take a hat from an achievement that I've already earned, I sometimes have to take a major hit to my money to use it. The Santa hat, up to 2,000 gold. The cat ears are 5,000 gold. A paper hat that could have been a cool new hat unlocked after getting Ginger Island, 10,000 gold? And I hope you don't want to cosplay the hit character Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus. I think this is the one change that I actually straight up hate. It's just a have less fun button with 0 upsides. This is a fiery take, fueled by my passion of wearing fun hats. I think Artisan should have been nerfed or outright changed. This one hurts. It hurt the first time it was nerfed from a 1.5 times multiplier down to 1.4. But you know what? I absolutely understand. It's pretty exhausting that it remains by far the best option. Even with all of these new ways of making money in 1.6, it's like they're afraid of getting quite near the numbers that wine gives you. I'm kinda of the opposite opinion. I think that everything else should be buffed to keep up. With how the Meadowlands farm was super focused on making animals good and animal crackers are making them even better, why is Artisan still the best profession for almost all animals? Like, imagine you wanted to focus on crab pots, but instead of choosing the crab pot professions, you chose the fishing one. Insanity. Personally, I think that Coopmaster and Shepherd should give a larger buff to animal-related products, like a 1.5 times multiplier maybe, and not just the raw animal product, but their artisan goods too. That way, there's absolutely no reason to choose Artisan no matter what animals you're focusing on. And then Artisan still has a use case for wine, it has a use case for smoked fish, it has its own uses. But the other ones should compete in the area where they're specialized. I'm gonna consider it still a hot take though, because I don't think that Artisan should be nerfed. Okay, so there's a lot of takes about the mastery system, but there's one that I saw a ton, and that's several different versions of you unlock it too fast, it was supposed to be endgame, or you should need specific skills experience to unlock that skill's mastery. I'm gonna throw out a hard disagree. In fact, I'd argue that the overall mastery system is one of the best designed parts of the new update. So let's tackle these one at a time. You unlock them too fast. Here's the thing, you probably did, but what about all of the people who don't like fishing, all the people who don't like mining? They're gonna take a lot longer to get to level 10 in those skills than someone doing a balanced playthrough. I unlocked it at the beginning of year 2. And when I mentioned that, a lot of comments said I must have like blitzed it, I got it so early. And yeah, I kind of did. And it was fun. I had to force myself to go mining a bit more often rather than fishing or farming to get the mastery rewards early, and it's such a huge payoff, one that allowed me to go all in on fishing a little bit earlier at the price of playing more balanced early on. I also saw this take, you unlocked it at the end of year 2, and you're disappointed that you're almost done with the mastery unlocks. I feel like if anything is nearing the point where you're about to get that evaluation from Grandpa at the beginning of year 3, mind you, that was considered the end of the game back before perfection was added. That's super late game. Like, a lot of items only have potential to be used at certain points. If you've already gotten all of the artifacts and minerals, there goes half of the reason for the treasure totems. Heck, even when I unlocked stuff at the beginning of year 2, I already felt that like golden mystery boxes and the Statue of Blessings had lost most of their potential at that point. If we unlock things any later, what's the point of unlocking them? You've already finished the game. And so lastly, you already hit level 10 in all skills. I just don't see any purpose in locking a specific mastery to its own experience, because that just locks your playstyle in for longer. It doesn't work any differently than essentially adding level 11 to a skill. And that might make sense thematically, but it just would be boring. Even though it's a somewhat common opinion, they're spicy for sure. The golden parent that gives you all the golden walnuts that you don't have should be exclusive to the Joja route. Perhaps instead they should add something that makes more thematic sense if you took the community center route. So this one has a little merit. When I was showing off the new update for the first time, there was a lot of people in chat that wanted me to swap to a Joja save file so that I could show off the new walnut bird. And then a lot of people were surprised when it was still there in my community center file. So first of all, I want to say that these two features, skipping the walnuts and buying perfection, absolutely 100% should be there regardless of the path chosen. They're essentially accessibility features that double as enabling more challenge runs. So the question is, Should they not be Joja if you took the community center route? Maybe it's like Junimos that collect the walnuts and like mess with Mr. Key's perfection machine. That would be cute, but I think what's more important than sticking thematically with what route you chose is keeping Joja as specifically being the money-based option. They're already established as being greedy and money-hungry, so would it make sense for something else to take money from you in order to skip content you don't want to do? I think it still makes sense that they're on Ginger Island to scramble to get money, even if you kick them out of Pelican Town. They're a huge corporation after all, and them having their slimy little tendrils in Ginger Island makes just as much sense to me. Good take. A lot to think about there. So I'm gonna toss my personal passionate hot take at the end here. You see this? The devil. I hate these with all of my chest. So first off, clay farming was removed. Yeah, it makes a lot of money. Luckily it was kept in as a legacy randomization option, and at least you can still find clay in artifact spots. Wait, did you feel like you weren't finding many artifact spots? Well, I don't blame you, because 25% of the time it was replaced with a seed spot. I know I defended the new crops earlier, but that's just their status as crops. 100% of the time, I will always prefer to see these worms over these worms. Luckily, the chance for them to turn into seed spots was reduced to 16.6% with the trade-off of giving more seeds. But you want to know something? That's still too high. I want to see it at 8%. Either that or the rate of artifact spots spawning should have been increased by the same rate that they turn into seed spots. I really don't know why they replace existing artifact spots in the first place. Also, all this is to say nothing about how much slower you get all of the artifacts you need for the museum. It's one of the very last things I accomplished when normally I can bang it out in year 1. I just had a thought that if anyone was watching this video as their introduction to the new update, they'd probably think it's awful. That's definitely not the case. Content added this late into the game's life just has a better chance of messing with people's routines. I mean, tea saplings, hats, and clay farming were all nerfed in the same update. That's rough. I might do another one of these just because there's so many replies to the 1.6 update. There's plenty to go through, so thank you for watching. See you all in the next one, and good night.